made out of iron or something in my body. I'm happy I did the operation, just in case somebody is thinking about it. It's very painful. It takes a long time to heal, but it's really worthwhile, I think. So again, it's just personal opinion. So in Buddhism, it's okay to take care of the body, of course, because you want to make your life also meaningful. And the more healthy and fit your body is, then you can be of benefit to others. We think, isn't it? We think we need to have a healthy body in order to be of benefit to others. What about when you cannot do anything anymore and you are depending on others? Then what? No, some people are shaking their head. What do you mean? Do you sometimes take care of people who need to be taken care of? How does it make you feel? Now people nod, meaning, makes me feel good. What about we don't have anybody anymore that we can take care of? Where are you going to get your good feelings from? So don't think, this is for dying, like the dying person is like, oh no, I don't want to be a burden, it's arrogance. We want to be independent, we don't want to be depending on anybody. Yeah? So sometimes we have situations like this when I've broken so many bones in my body, that we are depending on others because we cannot function anymore alone. And then we're very happy, because also we think we're going to recover and it's just temporarily, but maybe the time comes when it's not temporarily. So then listen to the people around you, what they say. When they say it's fine, it's okay for me to take care of you or to be there, but also it's okay to say I need some rest, but this is more the theme for tomorrow, isn't it? Being with dying people. But anyway, it's for us personally. Don't just think being of benefit to others is only when you are the one actively kind of helping them. You can also be of benefit to them. You allow them to create positive karma. You allow them to be good people taking care of you. So that's fine, isn't it? So it's okay to take care of the body, but as a spiritual practitioner, I don't think it's exclusive to Buddhism. You take especially care of your mind, because it's the mind that will continue, and this is why there is rebirth. So in Buddhist views, the mind, the thing that can perceive, it has no form, it has no color, it has no taste, it has no shape. You can only see the function of it, or you perceive the function of it, and the function or its job is to perceive, to know objects and to engage with them, to do something with them. So it's kind of a little bit like a mirror that reflects what is outside, and the more calm and the more peaceful your mind is, the more you have like a broader view, and the view is quite clear. The more agitated you are, the more the view becomes very narrow, and it's me, I, and then anger and aversion, I like, I don't like, and this comes up. Do you know what I'm talking about this narrow mind? It is very difficult to see it in us, because whatever the mind projects, when it is desire, attachment, anger, hate, frustration, stress, whatever it projects, it looks as real as if the mind would be calm. And if somebody comes and wants to calm you down and say, but look, it's not just like this. Instead of saying thank you, we go like, wow, you don't understand. We feel hurt, isn't it? We explain to somebody a difficult situation, and then that's what we also do, by the way, and it's very often not appreciated, because we also don't appreciate. We want to make them feel better, isn't it? So we come with this very good advice, like, what? I know you can't talk. We come and say, don't worry, isn't it? It will pass. Because it's true, on top of it. That's absolutely true. This is one of the Buddhist pillars also. Everything that comes together will fall apart. Oh, there's a few more there. What's the other one? Everything that comes together will fall apart. Everything that is contaminated also is in the nature of suffering. The high will fall. This we also see. If you get old enough, your reputation goes. This is why I want to stop teaching, because I want to keep my reputation. I say, oof, better stop. Yeah, some of it I say I don't really mean it. So, but yeah. The high keep on falling, and every living ends in death. That's fact. If things would not fall apart, they could not come together. Yeah, so every collection, that's how it is. Every collection will run out or something like that. Every meeting right now, I got the 4. So it's not with every contaminated phenomena, that goes to the 4 seals. It's another list. So every collection ends up running out. Every meeting ends in separation. Everybody who is very high will fall, either through death. They might have monuments, but it doesn't help them. And very often, our capacity goes as we grow older. And every living ends in death. So that can be, again, when we hear that, we go like, ah. So then we try to go against natural laws. I mean, how stupid is that? And we're so intelligent, isn't it? So taking care of the mind is, it's posed so beautifully when he says everything is there, is okay in the meditation. And people think it's easy, isn't it, when they hear, oh, wow, I go meditate, I just let things be as they are. We have such a habit, always wanting to manipulate, always wanting to do something, always wanting to change something, and this habit immediately it comes up, either aversion or attachment, and sometimes it's very, very subtle. Yeah, but even if it's subtle, it creates imprints for more reactions like that, more and more and more. And this then, when we have to depart from this thing that we call the body, that we are so used to and we know so well, that can be a big, big, big hindrance. Even I've seen people, I know you probably were not there, this beggar lady who was kind of dying. We collected her in the street of Bodhgaya, in Gaya, in the train station. We used to have also like a place like this in, they still have, a clinic, but also a place where people who had no family in India. If you have no family, they let you die in the street like this, absolutely no problem. This is why it's so important to have children. I have no chance in India. Also, not much chance, by the way, in Europe. So on one hand, it's very good. I have zero expectations that somebody lovingly will look after me until I die. I have no children, so there's no expectation. Whoever wants to do the job, wonderful. If not, well, that's it, Then I take refuge in the Buddhas. So then she was clinging to her life. She was sick. She was, she had no family. They had ripped off her little jewelry that it's not worth anything from her ears, so she had holes there. She had one toe, because Indians wear rings on their toes also, that was half ripped off because somebody had ripped it off. And it's culture. If you don't have family, then that's it. You're kind of lost. But she was so clinging to her life, and I was sitting next to her, and I thought, what is it making so difficult for this woman who has only suffering to go? Well, I never found out because I speak a few words of Hindi, but not enough. And she was holding on to my arm, and still begging, even though she did have food. She was in a clean bed. She had clean clothes. Her wounds were being tended. every time I was there, other people, she would hold on to the arm and kind of poke, like, hungry, I'm hungry, even though she was fed. There, this is the extreme of habit, not noticing also that something has totally changed. So we can prevent that by taking care of our mind and by looking at our mind, but we need methods. We can't just say, okay, from now on I look at my mind. Because also, you see, I think, anyway, I'm just talking about myself again. If you do longer meditation retreats, all your garbage is coming up. We think we're quite decent and ethical people, and all of a sudden, all these instances, not being kind, rejecting people, lying, all this comes up. I see some people nodding. And if you don't have any tools to work with this, you get depressed and you start to doubt your goodness and Buddha nature or whatever. Right? So this is why it's good to have tools. It's good to have it's good to understand one thing, to understand or at least believe or trust when what is said in Buddhism, the nature of the mind is pure. That's the first time I heard it in the Kopan course. Maybe I didn't even hear it the first time, I'm not sure. I try to keep this open, although I don't even look at it, but it kind of gives me some security here. So can we believe that we all have, by nature, the mind is spacious, has no limits. If you look, our senses, if your eyes are open, you cannot say, okay, stop. Stop seeing. If your ears function, you cannot say, stop hearing. If your nose functions, you cannot say, stop smelling. It's just going. Whatever comes, it picks it up. Yeah, and then the mental consciousness comes and has an opinion about it. It's like, people maybe you're also not so young. Yeah, right, exactly. You remember radio when we didn't have TVs when we were kids, and then Dad would listen to the football play in Switzerland Sunday afternoon, and the reporter kind of reporting every move. And I would listen when I was in India to Wimbledon, the tennis games, also on BBC radio. It's like very, very quick, very quick, So this is our mind, and we're not even aware of it. Yeah, and all of this is kind of mistaken. It's just coming from that perspective. So if we don't have any tools, if nobody shows us how to look at the mind, then it's very, very, very difficult to stop that. And just sitting down and say, okay, now I'm meditating. Many people think that meditation is kind of, this is the remedy for everything. Well, it is not. Your mind needs to be fairly stable to be able to take these teachings. Yeah, and to make your mind stable, either you start to be very ethical, as we're saying, then we stand on firm ground. We can say, okay, I'm not helping anybody, but also at least I'm not harming anybody. That's a good thing. We always want to be helping, doing things, being the person that has a good reputation and all this. Unfortunately, sometimes I even hear people say, yeah, well, they're very kind, they're not very intelligent. What would you choose? Intelligence or kindness, if you would have a choice? If you're kind, you have kind because you want to be kind, not because you want to manipulate people. Just also getting up in the morning and thinking, I just want to be kind. This is from Lama Ösel, when he was a punk. And, he tried out a few things. He's still trying out, I think. And so somebody, he was hitchhiking somewhere in Ibiza or somewhere. And there was this young guy with this flashy car who took him. And his brother was with him, Kunkin. And so the guy was, startups and earning a lot of money and all this, and he was bragging about it. Then he looked at Lama and he said, "What are you doing?" And Lama said, "I just want to be kind." If people would realize how difficult that is, intelligence can be learned. Kindness also has to be trained, by the way. It's not, you can't say, "Oh no, I'm not kind, I wasn't a kind person." So we can train kindness by seeing the advantage of it. Yeah. But again, it doesn't mean you let everybody walk over you at all. It doesn't mean that. It just means, may you be happy, may you be well when you see somebody. I like to wait for trains or planes, and then, in Tel Aviv train station, I just sit there before you go in, and everybody who passes, I just go, "May you be happy, may you be well." It's easy, and it opens up your heart. Don't need to do anything specific. And if you train that in daily life, because now is the time for training while our mind is still working, then you have a chance that habitually the mind will also go there. May my death not cause too many problems for the people who stay behind, for example. Yeah? To be able to go with such a thought, I think the heart really opens. So the Buddhist view on death and rebirth is because it's the mind that continues. And so the mind is that thing that perceives, right? That has, it's called clear knowing, the ability to perceive objects, to engage with them. It has mental factors also that direct, or attitudes, maybe better to call like this. If you have an attitude of kindness, you at all costs, or compassion, you don't want to harm, long-term harm. Or if you have to stop your children out of compassion, that's not harming them, that's having, being concerned about their safety or whatever. So we have mental factors that have jobs. I think you do Lorik also I heard you do this Nalanda program or something. So you study the mind and mental factors and how it works, not so much. Okay, so anyway, mental factors have jobs, right? So the anger has the job to hurt, to harm, the wish to harm. That is what is called anger in Buddhism. Not every tightness here and energy shooting up, by the way, is anger. So you have to analyze it, which is difficult, to make the distinction. And then we create actions with body, speech, and with mind, which create what's called karmic imprints or seeds. Okay, and those get deposited on the mind stream. And when the conditions ripen for this, what is called karmic imprints, to ripen, then it will ripen either something that is desired or something that is not desired. And it's, this is a very simplistic way of explaining karma, because also we see the 10 negative actions and we think, okay, at all costs I have to abstain from them. But it depends so much, with what attitude you're doing it, with whom you're doing it, in what situation you're doing it. It's not as simple. It's just to give us some guidelines. Because when we turn the whole thing around, we recognize these actions as negative. If somebody kind of steals from us, if somebody wants to kill us, if somebody cheats on us, like takes our partner, if somebody lies to us, if somebody gossips about us, if somebody, is using harsh words or divisive speech, we recognize it as negative, isn't it? We don't like it. You're not going, "Oh, even Buddhists don't go like this. Thank you very much for doing that to me. You're exhausting my negative karma." We forget that it's karma ripening. This is another training that we go, okay, negative karma ripening. Where does it come from? It comes from negative actions. Okay, I better be careful because I don't like the result. Also, you protect yourself as much as you can, not just for yourself, but also to protect the other. So if you know, if you are dying, let's say, and somebody comes and wants to help you, but already in life you could not stand that person, ask them to go away. Because you will not be pleasant to them. You will not be grateful. Your mind will be in a terrible state. In German, one say, kratzbürstig. Bürste is a brush and kratzen is scratch. You know these very hard brushes? So this is, in German, we have a description for a mind state like that, kratzbürstig, which is very suitable. Sometimes we are like this. We're very sensitive, and then we become that. Everything is like this brush that just scratches. So I think it's totally okay. At the time of death, you have to look after your own mind. And although people might get hurt and harmed, and we talk about this tomorrow, if you're the one who is still living, you know, and thinks you belong to the category of the living, and this one belongs to the category of the dying, we're all dying. There is no such thing as, you know, if we say, I'm going to see a dying person. Why, I could be dead before them. But we make this kind of distinction because we're sure they die before us. Not so sure. We all kind of convicted death sentence by ourselves, by our being addicted to have a body, and then that body has to die. Right? So if we can now already take care of our mind when it goes into a negative state, then we have some good tools, or we have already created the habit of being, you know, seeing the positive side of the whole thing. If we don't train that and we let the mind go in whatever state it wants to be, then at the time of death will be very difficult. Now, why is this important? Because we said about, you know, rebirth. It's important because our body, our place where we are born, what happens in our life is determined to the seeds that we have created, of course, not at the time of death, but in this life where we were alive or in previous lives. Again, that's the Buddhist view. So we have a huge collection of, you know, imprints that will lead to having the conditions to have a happy life. It's still no guarantee. But at least having the conditions, like the environment, to have a happy life. But we also have seeds or potentials. Maybe I call them potentials, I don't know. We also have, my seeds is a good thing. Although they're not material, okay? You cannot see them or something like that. They're called non-associated compositional factors. A wonderful also word in Buddhism that, what does it mean? It's not as associated to material things and not mind also, because they don't have consciousness, just potentials, seeds. So if your mind is in a positive state, meaning calm, open, patient, then you have a good chance that one of these positive seeds is ripening that will throw you into your next body. And then that's just one. You see, so, and then you are stuck with this body until you die. Whereas in that, during that lifetime, in this body, many, many other seeds are ripening. Some are, you know, wow, wonderful. Some are, wow, not so wonderful. And just in case you have never heard it, pleasant experiences, they do not come from the object. I see some people are nodding. Have you really understood it? No. Because we go like, wow, so wonderful. And we're not saying, oh, my karmic imprint who is ripening. We're saying the object is so wonderful. So we totally believe that these pleasant and unpleasant sensations come through the contact with the food, with the sound, with the smell. If it would be like that, it could never change. That very same object should always give us the same sensation, but it's absolutely not like this. We only have one type of food, unless we're really hungry, we get bored, you know. And it's funny because there's some staple foods that we're not getting bored with them, and we don't need to. Well, yeah, we still do. Even, I don't know, trina here in Israel, but you still try to make it a bit better than the neighbor's one or your mother's one or your husband's one or whatever. I was just thinking about bread coming from Switzerland and, Germany. There's bread. Bread is really staple food. And so it's also like you have more and more and more breads in the bakeries. Why? What for? Yeah, it just uses up more and more resources and then leftovers and all this. We have a bakery. I was in Bern. I really loved that bakery. They only sell stuff from yesterday. So the bakeries bring, and then it's still being sold. And of course, it's much cheaper. And if it's brown bread anyway, it's still okay, because if you live alone, one bread lasts you for the whole week, so you're not throwing it away just because it's not fresh out of the oven. And what was amazing, it's not so much people who went there because they needed to buy cheaper things. It was more people who really liked the idea that it doesn't get thrown away. So it works very well. And then also students go there because they don't have so much money. So it's great. So, so that's one thing. So how did I get there? Karmic imprints. Always wanting to change something. Okay, so it's good to know whenever we have a pleasant moment, we're exhausting positive seeds. Whenever we have an unpleasant moment, we're also exhausting negative seeds, or, seeds that will last, that will lead to suffering. So sometimes people just talk about karma. So it's not, we can't just put everything into karma. There are karmic actions, then there are karmic potentials or seeds, and then there are karmic results, right? So our human body that we have, with the human intelligence that we have, to be able to understand emptiness, to be able to understand that my mind projects, to be able to understand that I am responsible for my own happiness through my actions, this comes from, of course, virtuous karma, and especially the karma of having had ethical conduct, practicing generosity, patience, and making aspirations, kind of planning your next rebirth, thinking, again and again and again in this life, may I be able to continue with this path, whatever spiritual practice you have, whatever you find meaningful. Yeah. So then when the mind is really on automatic pilot, kind of driven by karma at the time of death, and then in the intermediate state, it will go where you want to go, hopefully, if it comes together with the karmic seed. Okay? So this is why it's good to think about death, where you want to go. You're not going, we do that in daily life. We're not just, mindlessly going to the airport and think, oh, well, the next plane that comes, I go with it. Well, at the moment, this doesn't work so well anymore, isn't it? There's not so much choice. So we're planning, or not even the airport. You go to the train. How many of you take trains regularly? Okay. Do you watch it? Do you check what time the train leaves? Why? There's no need. There's a train every half hour. And you can use that half hour as a break instead of running from one thing to the next. But no, we need control, isn't it? We need to know. Then we get stressed. Ooh, the worst is when, the bus is maybe coming, train you don't see, but the bus you see, the bus comes every half hour, and you just see it going. That's the worst. And Now, if you don't plan, you just go there and think, okay, I can, as I said, you can just, everybody who passes, you wish them, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be safe, may you be protected from physical, mental harm, things like that. It can be very helpful, right? So, like, now is the time for training. Then at the time of death, through certain factors again, these karmic imprints get activated, especially through grasping at existence. We want to exist. The mind wants to have a body, because why? Because it identifies with the body. The mind is not happy just to be without the body. Yeah, we could have a body like the Buddha, body made out of light, no need for care, no need food, no need drink, never tired, always sending out light like this. If you read sutras, you come across this again and again and again, what the Buddhas can do. So this is why sutra reading is so, for me, so inspiring, because I think, wow, and I have the potential to be like that. And then we get an aspiration also. And then you are going into what is called an intermediate state, where the mind can still be directed. And this is also where the guru comes in. The guru who is realized, he could fish you out of being on the way to a lower state. So in Buddhist terms, our existence is really, really fortunate, because as I said, we have the intelligence, we have the body also to do very specific practices that go more into, drops and channels and these kind of things. For that, we do need a human body to do these things. And so, but it's quite rare. Yeah, to, like we say, oh, but there's so many humans and they increase and increase. But if you think how many insects they are, if you just need to leave something on your desk, which is sugar, and it doesn't take long, you have ants and things like that. If you think how many fish there are, if you think how many animals, then we're not even talking about spirits or whatever that we don't see. They also have some body, but more, we can't perceive it. Some people can perceive them. Not only Buddhist lamas, also I know other people who can see, especially before death, by the way, also. You might have heard it. All of a sudden, people start to describe seeing beings that we say, but no, nothing is here. Dogs can perceive smells that we don't perceive, yeah, because we don't have the senses to perceive these smells. Butterflies, and I think it's a scampi or something, they can perceive like colors. I don't know, a huge range of colors that we don't perceive. So their reality is totally different from ours, right? So if now we train in difficult situations to have access to thoughts that will help us to calm down. So of course in Buddhist terms it's refuge. When we take refuge, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Not so much Buddha, come and help me, but more why am I taking refuge? Because I want to become like the Buddha, because I want to be a kind person, because I want to be first a non-harming person before I become a benefiting person. It reminds us of what we want. And if we're familiar with certain prayers and practices, it's very easy to the person who is with us to just recite certain things, and then we recognize them, and then the mind will go that way. So we can prepare like that. Then, as I said, after a certain time, we will go through the death absorptions this afternoon, because the Buddhists say it is not exclusive to Buddhists. Every mind goes through these stages. If you are with dying people, then sometimes they describe things like this. It's rare, but it happens. And so it's good to know, so we don't get frightened also, and we can think, that's what it is, so I better be careful. And then we go to an intermediate state where the mind still is grasping, looking, wanting a body at all costs. So I remember, people they ask, do we have a choice? So I think it was Tillman, who also comes to Israel, by the way, Lundrup Tillman. Do you know him? Have you met him? He's really great. He has so many tools, because he's a doctor, psychiatrist, done long retreats, has been a monk. And of course, that's, is a Mahamudra person. And so, yeah, he comes to Israel. He has groups also. And if you're a psychologist, but I think it's not translated into English, it's called Buddhist Psychology. That is by him and somebody else, but in German. He's German. So I was there when he was giving a talk, and somebody asked him, do we have a choice? He said, yes, we have that much choice, like somebody who is totally starved for food and goes into a supermarket. Do you think they choose? They would take the first packet and rip it open and, start to stuff themselves, to eat themselves. So that's what our mind is doing, grasping and looking for a body. So whatever comes along, whatever the conditions, whoosh, it goes in. Also according to that energy of that karmic imprint that was activated while we're still in this body, while we can still think. This is why the time of death is really important. So the more difficult situations you have in your daily life, the more you will be able to train. How can I put my mind in a virtuous state? So this is why we have all these texts, and this is as Buddhists, and we have all these prayers. So you have to find out your own prayer, what will be inspiring for you. Yeah, like one is like in the short Lam Rim prayer at the end, may I never be parted from the magnificent Dharma and meet the perfect teachers and, practice the stages of the path and attain the state of Ajadara. Then the mind knows where it wants to go. It still needs the energy of the karmic imprint to make you be reborn there. But then at least we die with confidence. Oh, maybe that's what I could maybe also talk about. There is a sutra which is called 11 mind states, 11 positive mind states at the time of death. I also didn't know that the sutra existed. I just heard Dakpo Rinpoche kind of teaching on it, on these 11 mind states. I made notes and I found them again. And then by coincidence, I kind of came across the sutra, and it was translated by, this 84,000, because they are translating now, this group, they are translating all the spoken words of the Buddha. So I just read it out because it's very short. Some sutras are like long, books long like this. Some others are very short. And it's called the Noble Sutra, Teaching the 11 Thoughts. Okay? So homage to the 3 jewels, always. There's always a homage at the beginning of the sutra. Thus did I hear at one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the grove of twin sal trees, in the city of Kushinagar, in the country of the Malas. At the time of his parinirvana, he spoke to the bhikshus. So it's actually a sutra where nobody's asking. That's quite, usually the Buddha had to be asked to speak. That's why he started speaking. He was asked by Indra and Brahma. Can you imagine if they wouldn't have gone to ask? I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be a nun. Who knows where I would be? So we can be really grateful for the Buddha's speech, because it's his speech who is giving us these methods. So he said, bhikshus, at the time of death, you should bring to mind 11 thoughts or 11 attitudes. What are the 11? You should bring to mind the thought of non-attachment to this life. That's to say, okay, it's finished. There is one saying by Hermann Hesse, stop hating to go. So nimm den Abschied, Herz, nun und gesunde. So say goodbye, my heart, and become healthy. So this is another training. Every time you are in a situation and you start hating to go, relax. Open up. I'm going by. No need to in the airport, when people come with you to the airport, that turning around, you're already on the other side, and turning around, every time is like, the pain is more and more and more. I really love to go in the morning. Nobody is awake. I just go. There's no pain. I'm happy for the time that I was there. When people say goodbye and this and that, there is pain. So stop hating to go. Non-attachment to this life. And when I was last year, when this whole thing started, 7th of October, I was in Ben-Ami, so we were doing Nunes, and then the Hezbollah started to shoot quite, next day already. So then the question was, should I go? Should I leave? I don't like to fight. So I didn't see myself going to the airport and fight for a place on a plane. And I thought, again, I can present this in a very altruistic way. I was too lazy to go to the airport and look, I knew it would be chaotic and people would want to go and you would have to fight. And so I thought, no, thank you. I can present it. I thought, because I also thought it's true, but that was second. Well, let the tourists go home first, because here I have people to stay. We're in the middle of a practice who still lasts 10 days. We prepared a lot for this practice. I think we're in the third Nune, and then I decided to stay because it's generic practice, compassion. What better can you do in a moment like this? And you do a lot of prostration, and I still, the moment is still very vivid, and then boom, and the windows kind of, I'm from Switzerland, I'm not used to that. For us, this is fireworks and stuff like that. And so I was standing there, just about to go down, and I thought, are you prepared for this? And I had this spontaneous thought, I had such a wonderful life, I can go. And that was so comforting because it didn't come from here. It came from here. And of course I had difficult periods in my life, but they're finished. And the life I have now, it is so good, but it's also okay to go. And to hopefully have another one with a bit better body than at the moment, right? So we don't need to be attached to this body. And I think I have the tools to know what to do at the time of death. Thanks to my gurus, thanks to the Dharma, but it takes time. We need to study. So non-attachment to this life. It doesn't mean, please, now, take your intelligence and don't take this black and white. That you say, okay, I have no attachment to this life, and you just cross the street in Tel Aviv without waiting for the green light. Or I believe in karma. If I'm hit by a car, it's my karma to be hit by a car. The poor driver, come on. How would you feel if somebody stupid like this, who wants to try out, do I have good karma, do I not have good karma, or practice non-attachment to life, will cross the street before you. Even you don't hit the person, you will be like this the whole day. So please don't do that, okay? Doesn't mean that you don't take care of your body, because while we are still in this body, we can still do purification, create a lot of virtues by whatever. It can, it can be reading sutras, it can be, there's a lot of things, helping others, practicing generosity, patience, the 6 perfections, all these, studying emptiness, studying about how the I exists. And for that we need the conditions, so don't throw it away, please. And think, I will have a better body next time. Yeah, suicide is no good. It's an act of killing, even if it's you. So please don't do it. It's terrible for the people around you. But to really, go into the life you had, and to, as we did this morning, so fortunate. Had so many good moments, and the bad moments are finished, because that's another one that comes after. So the thought of love for all beings can be trained. We'll do it, I think, on the 23rd. It was supposed to be in Kvarmonash. Now it's only on Zoom. The 4 immeasurables. The 4 immeasurables, the immune system for the mind, a training. Same way as the body has to be trained to boost the immune system. You put all kinds of stuff. You spend so much money to these, now there's these shots, they call them, ginger shot and this shot and curcuma shot, small bottles that cost a fortune. You grate your ginger yourself, you put some water, you drink it. Now it's like immune shot, wow, for the body. We spend so much money on the body, isn't it? At the time of death, he says, come on, I'm tired, get out of here. And he dies. He doesn't say thank you. It just gets older and older, more and more weak, and this and that. So the thought of love for all beings, how it's so comforting. Hate is, and people have hate, and I want them to feel guilty for the rest of their lives. This is, maybe no, better not to mention names, but some Buddhist practitioner who said that, for the son to come back because he left. I want him to see me like this so that he feels guilty for the rest of his life. Can you imagine dying with such a thought? So, the thought of love for all beings needs to be trained. The thought of giving up all resentments. That's so difficult. We think we have forgiven. When we hear that the person is well and doing well, then the heart closes up. They don't deserve it. We want people to be punished when they are doing negative things. It's okay to lock them away and to try to educate them to change their mind. That's perfectly okay. But not the punishment, they should suffer, then they will understand. Suffering doesn't bring understanding by itself. Otherwise, we would have a wonderful world. If suffering doesn't know where it comes from, if it doesn't have a view that it's karma or some higher being that wants you to learn something or whatever, there's plenty of views why negative things happen to us. If suffering doesn't know where it comes from, it turns violent, either against yourself, for not being able to protect yourself or whatever, or very often against others by blaming. So give up all resentments. It's finished. We're like somebody who's schlepping all their nightmares with them. If it's finished, it's finished. It's okay to remember. That is okay, but not with hate and not with anger. Because if you can't forgive, you're the one who, you're the second arrow of the Buddha. Have they heard that about the second arrow? If somebody harms you, somebody is nodding. If somebody harms you, that's the first arrow. You cannot prevent it, it's karma. The second arrow, we shoot ourselves by remembering it again and again and again, by feeling bad about it again and again and again. The victim again and again and again and again. Then, of course, there's resentment. Should not have happened to me. Yes, it's true, it should not have happened to you, but also for the sake of the other who now has potential to be the victim. The thought of acknowledging all faulty moral discipline. This is very old translation here, I think. Faulty moral discipline. Whoa. I like it, but I don't know if you can relate to that in a positive way. We talked about mental factors, and in the older translations, first one is trust. It was translated as faith, which we had to turn it into trust, because faith is for the stupid, people who don't know, people who are not intelligent, they have faith. This is our worldview, isn't it? So it's trust. Trust in our own potential and trust in the Buddha's methods that they will get you where you want to go. The second two ones were shame and embarrassment. Don't forget, positive mental factors. And in the West, we cannot use these words. They're totally misunderstood. So we changed them for, and not me, I'm not involved in translating. They were changed into integrity and consideration for others. It's okay, because we can work with these words. We don't do things out of consideration for others. Like a bit gross, but very normal, farting. If you have air in your stomach, it needs to come out, and very often it doesn't smell good. So if you have somebody in your room, you try to retain it. By the way, people my age, you cannot retain it anymore. Even you try, it just comes out. So please don't judge old people. That's it. Also for young people, it's much better to let it out than to retain it. It needs to come out. We sneeze, we cough. Why not fart? If you do Goenka courses with Indians, they burp, they fart. It's normal. Yeah, you can see you've done it. It's totally normal. We Westerners, we start to laugh, and they go, "What's wrong with it? Why are they laughing?" This is like laughing at somebody who sneezes. We would also say, "Why is he laughing?" So, but we need to recognize, we need to really assess our actions and be totally honest, and then, do purification practices so we can purify them while we still know how to purify. The thought of undertaking the entirety of moral discipline. Okay, we can say, if we were very not moral, this life I really messed it up. Next life I will be more careful. Again, the attitude, I decide to be a non-harming person. May I not harm anybody. It's a choice. Now, we're not succeeding. I'm not succeeding all the time, but it gets better and better and better, because the tendencies get less and less and less as we take precepts or do other purification practices. There's plenty of purification practices to do in Tibetan Buddhism. It's a big choice. The thought that even great harms that have been caused are insignificant now. That's what the Buddha says. Even you've been harmed in big ways, let go. Because now doesn't change anything. So the second arrow is not being able to let go. And we do, like on Yom Kippur, this goes into the Yom Kippur retreat, like what is really forgiving? Yeah, forgiving is not forgetting. Forgiving is not that you don't protect yourself. Very often we don't want to forgive because by not forgiving, we punish the other person. We give ourselves the right to be angry at them, to harm them back, and they even let us do it sometimes because they say, oh, I deserve it. But it's such a stupid game, backwards and back and forth and back and forth and back, How long is a victim allowed to hit back or to be nasty to somebody until the other one decides, hey, it's enough? Insignificant. Because why? Also in Buddhist terms, why is even a big harm insignificant? Because your karmic imprint to be harmed has been exhausted. It's not lying ahead of you, because also karma increases. Small actions can give big results. So like that. It can sound very harsh to people like you, Jewish people, who have been hurt and keep being hurt in big ways. So try to work with it. I don't want to tell you, Jewish people, because I'm not Jewish, what to do with it. Try to work with this. What does the Buddha mean? That it would be good if before I die, I can see great harms that have been done. Also one thinks about to me, right? Because you're not Jewish every time round. Maybe you were Nazis, I don't know. Oh la la. It's true, you don't know, we don't know. We could have been anything. I'm not saying you were, okay? I hope not, because otherwise I don't think you would have a human body. What? I hope not. Ich hoffe nicht. So that they understand. Maybe we continue in German and we see. No, you don't take your memories like this with you. You take tendencies, of course. So whatever karma we create, so actually, yeah, it's a good thing also to say, even if you've been very, very unpeaceful and a very harming person, if at the time you recognize it, as the Buddha says, and you think, wow, that was really not good, then the next thought, in my next life, may I not be such a harmful person. You activate a positive imprint. You still schlep all your negative ones with you, by the way, so you still have to purify next life. So it's not like, one chance and that's it. You take all your positive potentials or negative potentials with you at the time of death also. The thought that small acts of virtue are significant. Your acts of virtue or the acts of virtues of others. So we put the mind in a different mind state. Usually we do the other way around, like, the virtue that's been done to us, well, yeah, it's normal. Come on, isn't it? No? We don't think so? Slightest harm, blown out of proportion. Or numbers, How many times are people really beneficial to us? All the people who work in the fields, all the people who transport the food, all the people who bring it here, all the people who, boss said it's 200 years old. If nobody would have taken care of this building, you think it would look like this with air condition and everything? Forget it. So many beings are involved in making my life comfortable. And not one thought. Not one thought. Yeah? So this is virtue also. We receive so many good things. So if we start to see this as significant, the virtue that's been done to us, or the virtue that we have been doing, and insignificant what others did to us, then the mind changes. It goes very naturally into being grateful, and it stops being hurt and harmed and angry and disappointed and all these kinds of things. We have so many expectations how people should behave with us. Are we ready to fulfill these expectations that we have towards others? No. We expect everybody to be kind to us, to be generous when we need it, to be helpful when we need it, to be polite. Well, maybe here not so much, I don't know. Swiss people, oh yeah. Politeness is like, humble, all these kind of Swiss virtues. So then we have to see, am I, all these needs that we have to be recognized, to be accepted the way I am, to blah, 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 and blah, 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 and if they don't, but are we ready to accept others like this? No. We have huge expectations that we don't see, and then we get disappointed. Yeah? So also at one point somebody came and said, how are you? He said, yeah, okay. So I said, oof, doesn't sound good. And she said from her own side, maybe my expectations are too high. So I just said, why don't you lower them? 2 weeks later, the mother came. It was a young person. He said, what did you tell her? What did you do to her? She totally changed. And I said it not with thinking, I just, threw it out like this. But it's true. If we lower our expectations, how our life should be, we have so much more contentment. But with such high expectations of others, especially friends and family, those are the ones that can hurt you the most. Because you're my friend. Well, sorry, I didn't know. Sometimes we label somebody, you are my friend. We don't tell the other person, they don't know. And then we have all these expectations. Have you ever had that feeling, being disappointed, and then you go in the head, but she's my friend, how dare she do that to me? Very often. If they don't know, you need to tell them. We used to do that at school. We had these books. We would put poems in it and pressed flowers and this and that. Then we were friends. Then it was clear, like a contract. The thought of a lack of right with respect to the next world. See it as an adventure. Time of death. I wonder what comes. So they say the ones who are prepared, they look forward to their death. They don't bring it forward, but they think, wow, I wonder if this is going to work. The death absorptions and all these kinds of things. The ones who are not so well prepared, they are not frightened. And the ones who are the lowest practitioners, at least they don't have regret. So it's about practitioners. The ones who, the highest practitioners, they look forward. The middle ones, they have no fear, and the lower ones, at least they have no regret. So even, you don't have so much time to spend with spiritual practice on this. We can meditate and think about this. What would I have to regret? We did that last night, I think, if I would have to die right now. Then put it right, yeah? And be more careful in the future, so we can say, okay, well done, I'm going. Tschüss, say the Germans. the thought that everything conditioned is impermanent, yeah, all collections end up running out, every living ends in death. The thought that all phenomena lack a self, so this you learn in the Nalanda teachings, isn't it? Program. Yeah. So maybe you sign up. And then the thought that nirvana is peace. That's the last one. So meaning that's what I want. Recognizing the nature of reality. Having a direct perception of that thing that I'm trying to protect so much. That thing that I'm holding on to so strongly as being a third entity, something on top of body and mind, which you call a self or an I, which creates me and mine, which create all the problems, that this one does not exist. And that's nirvana. When we have a direct perception of emptiness of I, is nirvana. So we can have like short moments of nirvana when you're very concentrated in something, sports, dancing, art, whatever. You totally lose yourself. Everything flows. Everything is okay. And then because that is such a spacious and such a pleasant moment, and the I gets frightened because it, hey, what are you doing? I'm still here. And it jumps in and says, oh, wow, that's pleasant. Finished. Or sometimes also being totally one with another person. You know, maybe mother, father, child connection can be like this. You totally forget about your own needs. And everything goes well. So we have short moments like this, but it's not nirvana because it's not conscious. But we can get a taste for it. Okay, shall I go through them again? If you want, I can send it to Orit, that one also, and then she can send it to you. So bhikshus, at the time of death, you should bring to mind 11 thoughts. The thought of non-attachment to this life, the thought of love for all beings, the thought of giving up all resentments, the thought of acknowledging all faulty moral discipline, the thought of undertaking the entirety of moral discipline in next life, of course, no, it's too late. The thought that even great harms that have been caused are insignificant. The thought that small acts of virtue are significant, so great gratitude. The thought of lack of fright with respect to the next world, taking refuge, trusting the ground that you're standing on through your ethical conduct. The thought that everything conditioned is impermanent. The thought that all phenomena, meaning also me, lack a self. And the thought that nirvana is peace. Doesn't have to be all 11 of them, but maybe some we can already start to train now. In my personal notes, I have them a little bit more simple, but it's okay. Okay, so this means having some tools for next life, for the moment of death, but we need to practice it now. So of course the best tool is, you know where your refuge is. I really, since the war, it's thanks to the war, I know that refuge means miklat. So you need to go somewhere because you understand here is not safe. Yeah, I know, but this it means safe room. It doesn't mean shelter. Shelter is better. Refuge, shelter, being protected. Okay, so we go somewhere where we think it is protected. So the Buddha Dharma with, like ethical conduct, concentration, wisdom, which has nothing to do with religion. To practice ethical conduct, concentration, and wisdom, the wisdom of emptiness, you don't need a religion, but you need the methods. You don't need to do all these prayers, but you need to practice. This is it. And it's being presented these days free from religion so that it's accessible to everybody. Okay? So then these are some tools. Maybe in the afternoon we look at the sutra, the wisdom at the time of death, which talks about 3 things to think about, which might be a little bit easier. Okay, so it's 35, so we take a break because it's 45 that you have the walking meditation. They need instructions or they know how to do? Oof, I don't know. Yeah, Boaz can give you the instructions.
Okay. Thank you, Anila. For the people who watch us from home, we'll be back by 11:15 for the next session. For us here, we have about, 40 minutes? So what we recommend is that we take this time for walking meditation. If you need to go to the bathroom, you need to stretch a little bit, of course, and then just find a little path somewhere in this beautiful garden. When we do this kind of walking meditation, we go back and forth. We don't go strolling around, because we go strolling around, the mind also goes. And it's really good it's a really good practice to practice when we have a very, a day with lots of talking, lots of new ideas. So we just walk a little bit. We just let go of, you don't have to think of everything that was said here. It might come up, that's also fine, but we can just concentrate on feeling the touch of earth under us, being present, enjoying the air outside, enjoying the moving in and out of the sun maybe, or the smell, just being present in a simple way. And that helps kind of refreshing our minds. It's going to be more talking later on, more ideas, so we kind of refresh ourselves if we take the time just sitting and thinking, and then we might come to the next session completely filled and not being able to listen more. So that's our recommendation. In any case, we ask you to keep the silence. So we keep this space. I think it was working very well until now. I was asked to tell you that we'll send you all the files, the precept files, and what Anila was teaching now, and whatever. At the end of the course, email everything, so you don't have to worry and you don't have to write notes about it. Yael and Smadar that were asking to talk to me, I'll be sitting just outside here, and 2 minutes from now we can talk there. And we'll have a gong at 11:10, so 11:15 we meet here. Enjoy.